How's it going, buddy old pals? I'm Ziegler and welcome to another Valheim build guide. Bet that one caught you off guard, different intro. Today I'm going to show you how to build a mystical Alchemy Tower treehouse, as I like to call it. You could also call it a wizard's treehouse if you wanted. First off, I just wanted to thank you all again and say welcome to all the new people who have joined the channel. 3 days ago we just hit 200 subs. Now at the time of this recording we are now at 397. That's nearly 400 people. That's just an insane number to me. I've basically just been thinking in my head all day, that's nearly 400 people. That's crazy. It's all I have to say. I'm speechless from the support, so thank you. Also, I'd love to hear from you all down below. Even leave a comment on where you're from or what video decided to make you join the channel. And if you haven't already, subscribe. I plan on making more tree houses in the future. This video is a bit different because I use creative mode to do this build. I originally was just going to use this for planning, but this way I didn't have to gather up insane amounts of resources to show you guys a build. So let me know if you want to see creative or survival builds from now on. Let's get straight into building. To begin our build, we're going to create a circle shape with some horizontal beams. This is really easy to achieve just by rotating inwards each time from the previous beam. The next step is planning where you want your trees. This probably isn't entirely needed, but I wanted this to look like a treehouse tower. I placed 3 in a triangle shape for the major supports. This kept the whole build structurally sound, as trees count as ground for some reason. Keep in mind you will need to remove some pieces to allow your trees to grow because they need some room, otherwise they won't grow at all. It usually takes 3 days for pine trees to grow, roughly. The next step is to start what I call the curvature. I don't know what else to call it besides maybe a curve pattern, but all I'm doing is placing 26-degree beams, 2 beam widths before the trees. Now I do the same as I did with the circle and just rotate inwards each time. You'll know if you're doing this right if the beams are allowing you to place them so they cross through each other, as you'll see. You can do this other ways, but this method there's no need for crosses. I repeat the same step again going the other direction. To do this, keep 2 beam widths between your bottom diagonal beams to make them form a cross, and just continue rotating inwards as shown. I made mine tall enough for 3 stories. You could probably add more if you wanted. I plan on trying to make some taller and more elaborate builds in the future, so make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. Don't worry about the 45-degree beams I placed in the middle here, I removed them anyway. But all I'm doing is making the top match the 2 sides by making it the same height. Once that's done, create a top circle for our roofing. This is achieved in the exact same way as the bottom. Once the ring is done, I started on the roofing, which is achieved similar to the circle, just by using 26-degree beams around the outside and rotating them inward once. To create the first roof section, use 26-degree thatch roofs, and follow the circle beams we placed down. This can be done pretty easily. The next step is entirely optional. You could finish off your roof with 26-degree thatch roofs, but I decided to use 45-degree beams, rotate them inwards once to create a circle at the center, then I used 26-degree roofs on top of those, which was a tedious idea. I had a lot of trouble getting them to snap correctly with the little space I had, but my tip is to try look at the corners of the beams. Try every angle and you'll find new snap positions. I imagine this will be worked on in the future updates. I still think Valheim's building is among the smoothest and most fluent out there, so I'm not complaining in any way. Once the roof is complete, we move on to making our floors. This part will be pretty easy to follow along. Pause the video if you get stuck. I use half walls to leave a space for where I want my windows later, but it's optional if you want to do different windows to me. To fill in the small gaps, I use small triangular pieces, as you'll see when I build up my walls. For my windows, I decided to make a diamond or cross pattern, whatever you like to call it. I achieved this just by keeping the beams aligned with the ones below them. It's easier than it looks. The front and back windows are exactly the same, besides one thing. I use 45-degree beams to make a diamond on the back window, just for variation. I made the floor the same way I made the floor in my roundhouse build guide. It's achieved just by rotating inwards once along the beams, then repeating it again by rotating the beams the opposite direction. To place the floors, use the same method, rotating once, snapping to the circle outside beams. I left the middle open, but you could fill this in if you wanted. After that, I added one layer of roofing around the top of my first floor. This becomes our second floor. To build the stairs, I brought them slightly in from the wall, rotated them twice each and snapped them to the corner of the previous ones. I filled in the gaps with some half floors, which is really easy to do just by placing one, then rotating the one next to it twice. For the third one, just rotate it back to the same as the first one. If you don't understand what I mean, just watch closely on how I place them. It can be done different ways as well. For the second floor, I started by creating another circle of beams around the roof tiles. For these ones, I had to snap them inside each other by about halfway, then rotate them once each. Sorry if this triggers your OCD. And just don't pay any attention to anything you may see that I haven't showed, I'll get to it. I try not to backtrack as much as possible, but I do this to bring the best aesthetic look to my builds. I hope you don't mind. I forgot to record this next part because I have no brain. It's that simple, don't question it. To place the floors, I essentially just rotate them once like before, and then snap them halfway inside each other if you can. Your end result should make a pretty good circle in the center. Don't stress too much if it doesn't make a perfect circle. I also broke some holes in the roofing because the flooring will not work as ventilation for a campfire in the first floor. But you can still place a campfire in the first floor. I'll explain later in the video when I place the campfires. From here, go ahead and place any furniture or crafting items you please. I just use this stuff as an example, so feel free to use what I use. Next step is to build your stairs to the next floor. I did this beforehand but screwed up my recording and screwed up the floor, so I redid it. It's basically achieved in the same way as the stairs before, rotating twice inwards. I used a log pillar for support. Don't worry about the second pillar at the bottom of the stairs, I remove it later. For the top stairs, I had to make them slightly lower, which I built another outside circle for. I forgot to record this part also, but it's the same as before, make a circle wherever you want your floors. I used a 2 meter beam and then a 1 meter beam to come inside the circle, and then used the 1 meter beams to create a smaller circle in the middle. I tried to get this as central as possible. Next step, I added the flooring, which is really done in the same method as before, just filling in the gaps with half floors. Pause the video if you need some time and remember to leave enough space for your head. Removing the original beams I used to come in to make the circle allowed me to walk under with no problems. Moving on to campfires, now here's the odd part. A campfire on the bottom floor will work, it just won't vent very well. The only place you get the smoke status effect is this one spot on the stairs. The smoke will slowly vent through the holes I broke before. Another thing is you will also see the smoke clipping through the second floor, but I don't mind this too much. A bed won't work on the second floor without walls, but I can sleep in a bed on the first floor, when I have the campfire on the second floor. With campfires, you just need to keep in mind they need to be close enough to your bed, and that's all there is to it. To completely negate this, I used an iron beam in the center circle on the second floor, and placed a campfire on top of it. The reason this works is wood can't support stone. Campfires count as a stone building object. But as you can see, the smoke will vent from the second floor fine, so I decided to place it here. You may say I added some lighting off camera. This is because your lighting is optional. You can do whatever you like with this, but I do recommend using some green torches in this build. I made some minor touch-ups and added details at the end. These log poles I messed up at the start. It's optional anyway if you want to use these, but I fixed them up either way. You would have also noticed I placed banners around. This is obviously just for looks and they add comfort. I chose green because I added green torches later on as well. I also just added some paths, beehives and a windmill for some aesthetics to the build. And that's all there is to it. You now have a wizard's tower, alchemy tower, treehouse, whatever you consider this build. All the furniture in this build, obviously you can alter. I just do this to provide you guys with a small amount of inspiration. I'm sure you guys could make some super interesting stuff using this as a template. Anyway guys, let me know what you think below. Leave a like if this helped or you just enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more. As always guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later.